Today we're going to learn a little bit about Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system, and we're going to start with a brain pop.
Dear Tim and Moby, does Jupiter have storms? From BB Turbo. No, he's right, it does. The largest planet in the solar system is also the home of the largest storm ever observed. You can see it in most pictures of Jupiter. It's called the Great Red Spot. See it now? It's nearly 24,000 kilometers long, and you could easily fit the Earth inside of it. Its winds blow up to 400 kilometers per hour, and inside you'll find lightning hundreds of times more powerful than in any Earth storm. Relax, Moby. Jupiter's far away. Jupiter is the largest object in the solar system, not counting the Sun. It's about 320 times more massive than the Earth. Actually, it contains almost 3 times the mass of all the other planets put together. Jupiter has many moons, including Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system. Yeah, Jupiter does not mess around. Jupiter's gravity is stronger than the Earth's. If you weigh 50 kilos at home, then you'd weigh about 130 kilos on the surface of Jupiter. Except that Jupiter doesn't really have a surface. See, Jupiter is a gas giant. It's mostly hydrogen and helium mixing with other materials like ammonia, methane, and sulfur to form colorful swirling clouds. As you go deeper, you find that the enormous atmospheric pressure condenses the gas into a gooey sea of liquid hydrogen. Some scientists believe that Jupiter might have a rocky core, but if it does, it's pretty small. We know all this because of the brave robotic probes sent to explore the outer planets. The Pioneer, Voyager, and Galileo missions have sent back tons of cool pictures of Jupiter and its system of moons. One really neat thing about Jupiter is that it radiates more energy than it receives from sunlight. The heat generated inside of Jupiter causes the swirling clouds of gases you see. And Jupiter has a monster magnetic field generated by a layer of liquid metallic hydrogen combined with its fast spin. Jupiter spins on its axis every 10 hours. Yeah, everything about Jupiter is impressive. What? No, you can't change your name to Jupiter. You just can't. I'm not calling you Jupiter.
So Jupiter is the first among the Jovian planets, and it is the largest of the Jovian planets. It's the largest planet in our solar system. It is about 300 times the mass of the Earth, and all of the other planets all together at once could fit inside of it. So that kind of gives you an idea of how large it is. Like the Sun, Jupiter is made of mostly hydrogen and helium, and its outer atmosphere are layered clouds of water, methane, and ammonia. The further down you go, though, you end up meeting some serious pressure down there. About 10,000 kilometers down, the pressure is actually high enough to change hydrogen gas into a liquid. And deeper than that, it's high enough to change the liquid hydrogen into its liquid metallic state. And those two things can only happen with a great amount of pressure. The interior of Jupiter is so hot that it actually radiates more energy out into space than it receives from the Sun. So some people say that Jupiter is still forming because of this. The surface temperature, however, is very, very cold because it doesn't have an actual surface with an atmosphere to hold it in, and it's pretty far away from the Sun. However, its core temperature is very, very hot. Its day is about 10 hours, which makes it the fastest rotating planet in the solar system. So it's kind of funny to me that even though it's the largest planet, it's rotating the fastest. And its year is about 12 Earth years. One of the most well-recognized features on Jupiter is the Great Red Spot, and this is actually a storm system that's more than 400 years old, and it's 3 times the diameter of the Earth. One of the extremely interesting things about Jupiter is its satellite system. And currently the count is up to 66 moons. The largest 4 we call the Galilean moons. And if you remember from earlier in the year, this is because Galileo is the one who discovered the moons. He was the first one to turn a telescope up into the sky to make observations of the sky. And he discovered that there were 4 moons orbiting Jupiter. And so if you take a look at Jupiter today with a telescope, or even really a really good pair of binoculars, you can still see those 4 moons pretty well. And the names of those moons are Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And that's the order that they are. Io is the closest to Jupiter, and Callisto is the farthest away. And remember, we talked about in class, one way to remember that order is I eat green cats, which is kind of a strange saying, but I think you might remember it, and it'll help you remember the order of those moons. So let's take a few minutes to look at those 4 moons in a little more detail. The first one up is Io. And sometimes this is called the pizza moon because it kind of looks like a giant pizza. And this is covered with large active volcanoes. And Io is actually the most volcanically active body in our solar system. The next moon out after Io is Europa. And you can see that the surface of Europa is very different from Io. Instead of an active surface with lots of volcanoes, Europa has a very icy crust. And what's exciting about that, even though it doesn't look that exciting, is that the possibility of oceans underneath that ice. And you can see all of the different kind of long lines along the surface there, and those are places where that icy crust has cracked, and we see those all over the surface of Europa. The next moon out is Ganymede, and this is the largest moon. It's actually not just the largest moon of Jupiter, it's the largest moon in our solar system. And it also has an icy surface like Europa, but you can see it looks a little bit different. It is covered with craters. We don't think that there is an ocean of water underneath the crust here. It just has kind of a frozen crust with lots of craters on the surface. And then the last Galilean moon is Callisto, and this is very similar to Ganymede. It has a very icy surface that's also heavily cratered. The last thing I want to talk about are the various missions to Jupiter, starting with Voyager 1 and 2. Voyager 1 and 2 both sent images revealing the thin ring around Jupiter. All of the outer planets do have ring systems, even though sometimes we just think of Saturn as the only one with rings because its rings are so spectacular, but actually all of the outer planets do have thin ring systems. And Voyager 1 and 2 were also the first missions to give the first detail of Jupiter's moons. The Galileo was a probe that was sent into the atmosphere, and the Galileo probe gave a lot of new information and new data on composition, temperature, and pressure. And then the Juno mission is the current/future mission. It is on its way there currently, and it will be arriving in 2016. And below you see a list of different things that the Juno mission is going to do. Gather a lot of data into the atmosphere, measuring things in different ways that haven't been done before. So that's it for the video on Jupiter. Thanks for watching.